How you going? Stayer Off Grid here, just looking at my Maricat downhaul and trying to work out what system I'm going to go for. So there's a few different ways, or a couple different ways that I normally use. A 6-to-1 downhaul, which is connected to the bottom of the gooseneck on the boom, and 4-to-1 which is connected to the little hole in the sail, which we'll have a look at very shortly. Now, this is under, no load conditions kind of. I am going to put the main on to sheet the main on to test that as well, but there's no wind in the sail, so it's not really going to be how it reacts when it's sailing, but we'll have a look at it anyway. So I guess for the beginners, which a lot of my videos are based for beginners, what is the downhaul? So we'll have a look at that. And what does it do? Well, what it does is that you're flattening out the sail, pulling down the sail, flattening it out. And if you've got from what I was taught, and I haven't sailed for 30 years, but I did have a Maricat. I sailed at sloop rig, skippered at sloop rig 30 years ago. And I had a cross-cut sail. Now I've got a radial cut sail. I don't know too much about the radial cut sails. I just like the look of them. And with the cross-cut sail, I was always taught that you pull the downhaul on to get the wrinkles out of the sail, and if it comes on strong, the wind comes on strong, pull a bit more onto it to flatten out the sail, to depower the sail. And then when you're downwind, some let it off, some don't let it off, but if you're on a reach, then you would want to let it off. So yeah, up to personal choices. I've read that some people don't let it off going downwind, so that's something that interests me that I'm going to think about and look at. So let's get to it. So downhaul is the rope that attaches to the bottom of the mast and then up to the boom or to the sail, which is what we're going to look at today, the different types. All right, so this is pretty much the standard setup for Maricats these days at a competition level. You have an RF5 pulley cleat on one side, another one on the other side. That means that if this is cleated over here, you can pull it on that side, let it off that side if you're on that side of the boat. If you're on this side of the boat and that's cleated, you've got to remember to leave that cleated, you can pull it on and let it off from this side of the boat. Now the rope goes out, at the moment I've got it to the jib mounting point, or you could have it out to the stay if you wanted, so you can reach it when you're out hiking. Now this one is a 6-to-1 system, so it's got the one you're pulling on is 1, then you got 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the one going out is 6, so it's 6-to-1. I've got a block of 2 pulleys at the bottom and a block of 3 at the top, as well as show the different types, which we'll get to. I want to see how much sitting in the hiking position. I've got a control line here, which is I just lift up and pull down as far as I can pull with my hand. That line is the control position. So now I'm going to, in the hiking position, pull down on it and measure how far it comes down. Alright, that's about as hard as I can pull down with one hand. It took a couple of pulls, but still, when you think about it, you've only really got one hand to do it because you're doing other things with the other hand. So now I'm going to measure that. What do we got? 110 maybe 115. Alright, so now I want to release it and see how far it goes back up. And it's gone to about 40. So it's come from 115 up to 40, and what I want to do as well is I just push on the sail. So by pushing on the sail, that's coming all the way back up. So now what I want to do is once again pull this on. Alright, probably do that in 2 pulls if I get my act together. So I've got it on a bit stronger this time. It's about 120, so it's 5 mil difference. So now with that on still, I'm going to grab the main sheet. All right, so I've pulled the main sheet on. Now I'm going to let this off and see how far it comes up. And didn't really come up at all. So now pushing on the sail to simulate wind, still not coming up. I'll just measure that, see if it did come up at all. 100, so it come up 20 mil. Now I've pushed on the sail, did nothing. Now when I let go of the main sheet, it goes up, and it's at about 75. Push on the sail, and it didn't really come all the way up again. So all right, well, that's that test. Now I'm going to string it up, well, rope it up another way, rig it up another way, and see how that... Okay, so with this version that I'm about to rig up, instead of having something at the bottom here, you have nothing there, but you can either have a hook up here either side, one side of the sail, and a little pulley on the hook. Or I've got these ones which have got a hook on them, so put one side, one the other side. Now this is possibly the cheaper way to do it. You can get those, I got those hooks from Mitre 10, and I think these little Ronston pulleys which I've got spare for the boom outhaul aren't very expensive. I'm not sure what they were, but they're probably more expensive. I haven't sailed for 30 years, but this is the system that I used to have going up to the top here. So what it does, and I actually didn't have RF5, I had ones that my dad had made himself. So we come up, we go through that pulley up the top, or block up the top. We've got a single block at the bottom, comes back up to the block on the other side, comes down to the other RF5. So with the one we're pulling on being 1, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4-to-1 system. The last one was 6-to-1 system. Now the idea with this one up here is that it releases better under load of the main sheet. So let's see how that goes. Now, all right, so let's see, pull this one on. I've got one yank and a little tiny bit with one hand. That's all I've managed to get on. That's the majority of my strength. Now, although, you know, the top 98% of the sail has been pulled down, I'm not a bit concerned with this. I've got to see what it does under wind conditions, but I don't particularly like that, because the wind, I don't think, well, it did drop down further with, oh, all right, pushing on the sail, that dropped down further, so maybe with a bit of wind on it, it does come down fine, and I'm sure it does, because people are using it. They wouldn't be otherwise. But if I measure that, even pushing on the sail, it's come down to about 85. If I pull this down with my hand as much as I can, it's come down to maybe, that rope's in my way, maybe 105. So let's see what it releases to. It's released quite nicely, and it's down, it's at about 50, so maybe not as good as what the 6-to-1 was. Now if I push on the sail, it's not coming up anymore. So now what I want to do is under load, pull that on once, twice. I can only get one pull and a little bit. Now I'm going to pull the main sheet on. And I'm going to release. Didn't come up at all. With the main sheet on though, that did pull that out. Oh yeah. I'll try that again. Letting off the main sheet and it's releasing up. Bit of wind on it and it's come up a bit further and further again. So it's at about 50 again. What I want to see, just one more on this one, pull it on again. Alright, that's as much as I can get on. And let's see what happens to that bit that's caught up. The boom's not going down. When we pull the main on, oh, I didn't see it, the camera saw it. Yeah, okay. So when you pull the main on, that comes down. So there's nothing wrong with that, that's fine. Obviously by the boom forcing forward, it's being forced forward and down on a slight angle, so it's pulling that out. So there's nothing wrong with that. As to which one releases better, yeah, I'd say I'd have to do a test with on the wind and see, because that's inconclusive, I would say. If you can have one and have the other, why not have both? So I've got the block up the top here. I've got a double block underneath the boom, which pulls the boom down, and I've got a triple block. Oh, the camera goes crazy. Triple block at the bottom and the RFIs on the other side. So now, all right, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now it's 8 to 1. And even though the issue of this sail crimpling up at the bottom didn't seem to be a problem once the main sheet was on and forcing this down, but why not have a go at it? I don't know, that's what I'm here for. All right, so pulling down. Still 2 pulls, and I could probably go more, but I don't want. That's one thing I've got a lot more. I don't want to be pulling down too much. With 8 to 1 now, you've got to be careful. That's down at about 110. So releasing that. It's gone to about 45. Yeah, 45, so about the same as the 6 to 1. Pull it on again now. And I'll measure that just to make sure what I'm at. Well, I'm at about 120 now. So, main sheet. Main sheet on and release, and you know, probably come up 20 mil, same as the others really. And releasing the main sheet, pushing on the sail for wind, and it's slowly released. So it's released to about 65. It's not the greatest. So releasing, not so great because we've got more ropes. And I think I know which way I'm going to go now. All right, so I've kind of made up my mind. I think the thing, it wasn't very, it was inconclusive as to which releases better, and none of them released under load with the main sheet on, but that's not in sailing conditions. So it remains to be seen which one actually releases better in sailing conditions. So the 8 to 1 was getting, was taking 3 pulls, and I was getting 110 mil travel. The 6 to 1 was taking 2 pulls, and I was getting 105 mil travel. And then the 4 to 1 was just taking 1 reef, and I was getting to 100 mil travel, which is enough apparently. Well, either way, that's as tight as it was going to go, because you don't have to pull as much rope through. So if it turns out to be a whole lot better in the release scenario, well then it's a double winner, isn't it? But it's the first winner by only having to pull it on once and it's on. So that's saving time. Now, if you don't like the style of going up to the sail because you have concerns like I did about the boom not dropping down, but I did find out that when you put the main sheet on, the boom drops down, it forces it down, so it's not an issue. But otherwise, you could run a 4-to-1 system on the bottom of the boom, which would mean that you're only pulling it on once, right? Now having the extra purchase makes it easier to pull on, but if it then takes 3 times longer, then it's just not worth it, is it? And the 8-to-1 does feel really, really nice when you pull it. It's like pulling nothing. But then you get to that part where it's tight. But it took 3 pulls. Now, something of interest to note, it's each time I'm pulling the downhaul on, I'm just doing it with one hand. I'm pulling till it's tight. Now, once it's tight, there's no real reason to try and pull it on tighter, because the sail can only go so far, and what you can be doing is damaging the sail by trying to reef it on even more. So I was talking to Ian Markovich from Redhead Sails, and he said you can get a rip in the top batten, at the top of the top batten, by trying to pull the main sheet on too hard. So yeah, keep that in mind. Once it's tight, it's tight. Otherwise, you're just trying to pull something that doesn't want to be pulled any tighter. For me, the winner is the 4-to-1 going up to the sail. Thank you. I'm Stayer Off Grid. I want to see your comments.